So the first step of mental preparation is to conquer stage fright. Now, as I said earlier, most people have this subconscious fear of speaking in public, whether that is planned or it's just on the spot. So in both ways, before I introduce you to the secret of conquering that stage fright, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your subconscious mind in a nutshell. This subconscious mind is the part of your brain which is responsible for the day-to-day tasks that you do without even thinking. You just learn them by repetition, like for example walking, jumping, running, or any kind of sport that you practice until you reach the level of acquiring that skill. This acquisition of the skill goes directly to the subconscious mind. Accordingly, when you practice your favorite instrument or let's say your favorite sport, you don't really think much about what you're going to do, at least not as much as in the beginning of this practice, of practicing this sport or this instrument, because practice makes perfect, as they say, and this perfect is in your subconscious mind. The same concept of repetition applies to songs and memories. I mean, I bet you that there is a song or a scent that is related somehow to a person or a certain memory in your mind. Whenever you hear that song or whenever you smell that, you instantly remember that person or that situation. So how did that happen? The answer here is three words: repetition, emotions, and triggering. Let me explain. For me, for example, there was this girl whom I was in a relationship with, and we had to break up at a certain subway station. Every time afterwards, every time I went to the subway station, I felt kind of bummed, and I didn't really know why. But after I learned about this, I realized that since I had a very high level of emotions in that breakup situation, and since earlier, before breaking up, I had always been hanging out with her there in that subway station, because that was her stop. This subway station used to trigger really sad emotions for me, and I hadn't known the reason. So what's the relationship between all of that and what we're talking about, which is how to be an impressive trainer? The answer is really simple. You can use this phenomena, which we just talked about, to your advantage by creating something I like to call the smell of success. That's one of the procedures I learned when I was taking some yoga classes, by the way. It's really simple, and you're not going to lose anything if you try it. In fact, you're going to gain a lot. So I need you to bring some perfume. First, sit comfortably in a chair, and I need the atmosphere around you to be very calm. Relax. It's better to close your eyes, breathe deeply and slowly, and then I want you to think about the most successful moments in your life, and I need you to recall them very clearly in your memory as if you're reliving them. And once you reach the peak of emotions you shall gain after remembering such good memories, I need you to spray the perfume that I had asked you to bring with you, and I need you to just smell it. This exercise shall take 5 to 10 minutes, whatever it takes you to reach that peak that we talked about, and I need you to practice it once a day for 7 days, just once a day. What you will realize is that whenever you smell this perfume again, you will have the same feeling of happiness, because when you are successful, the dopamine level instantly increases in your body, because you linked that dopamine level which you gain when you feel successful with this perfume. This perfume is to be used before you deliver a session from now on, and it will boost your confidence, and that will help you conquer stage fright. The second and also important element to conquer stage fright is to get away of your own way. That's what I like to call it. Simply put, If you were attending a session and the trainer asked everyone to think of their favorite song because he will choose someone randomly to sing in front of others, most people who have average voices would really freak out. There would be a little voice in their mind advising them on how to avoid such a situation, or even praying that they wouldn't be that chosen one who's going to sing. When you deliver a session or when you are in any sort of nervous situation, your mind starts advising you, and that needs to stop in order to conquer your stage fright. Yes, you will be nervous, and that's something I'll teach you how to minimize as much as possible later in this lecture, but this little nervousness should be pushing you to take the challenge and shouldn't be triggering that little voice in your mind. All what this little voice does is restricting the flow of ideas in your mind, and I'll tell you now how to stop it. It's a simple practice I learned from Matt Abrams, the professor in Stanford University. I need you to spell in any language what you're going to do this evening. It's okay if you're bad at spelling, because the point of this exercise is the level of focus that you will be at while trying to spell correctly. To make it more challenging and fun, I need you to ask someone to do the same with you and try to hear them. I need you to try to hear them. Notice how focused you are. Notice how you wouldn't have any other ideas in that moment of focusing. That's the level of focus that we need to shut this little voice up. The third thing, in order to conquer stage fright, and which shall help silencing the little voice in your mind, by the way, is to focus on the things you have control over. I mean, generally in life, there are things that you have control over and things you simply don't. For example, if you have a meeting and you need to be there on time, what you have control over are the time you get dressed in, the road you take, the speed you drive by, etc. But things that you don't have control over are like the traffic jam or the construction on the road, for example. So you don't really need to be bothered if the road is crowded or if the traffic is jammed. There isn't any benefit from getting annoyed or nervous because of the traffic jam, because you simply don't have any control over either that or that. The same goes for stage fright. You need to perfect what you have control over. Your material, the way you look, logistics, plan B, and so on. On the other hand, you need to forget or to ignore the little voice in your mind which tells you that, oh no, they're going to hate you, or oh no, they're going to laugh at you, because you really can't control the reaction. You can do your best, you can focus on doing your best, and that's something you have control over, but their emotions, that's something you don't really have control over, because it's more complicated than you think. The last and most important thing in order to conquer stage fright is when you don't freak out with the little voice and admit that people get nervous when they speak in public. And that level of nervousness differs from someone to the other according to their visualization. You know that you only have one shot at success in whatever you do. That means that the first time you do a session or a lecture that you're going to be delivering, it doesn't matter, it can't be repeated again. You don't have a time machine, and to be honest, first impressions usually last. So, how do you avoid leaving a bad first impression and nail the session from the first time? Well, the answer is visualization. But what is visualization? I'll show you. Could you please close your eyes while you're listening to me right now? Good. Now, you can hear me well, right? Excellent. Can you think about your kitchen? Now, can you enter this kitchen and stand in the middle of it? Very good. Now, can you open the refrigerator and get your head closer to it while it's open? Can you feel the cold? Good. You can open your eyes now. Now you have just visualized about your kitchen. In order to visualize effectively, you need to also sit quietly on a chair, similar to the one we mentioned earlier in the exercise about how to create the smell of success. It'll be similar. Sit quietly, close your eyes. Imagine every detail about the lecture that you're going to give. Imagine the audience, the variety of their age, if any. Imagine the way they're sitting. Imagine the way you will enter with your back straight and the way you look at them. Imagine the atmosphere and all the surroundings of you in the class or the room that you're going to deliver in. I want you to keep doing that again and again and again in order to master the way you're going to start your lecture. Because again, the real lecture will be only once. So in order to learn from trial and error, instead of sucking at many lectures, you simply need to play it again and again in your mind and try to program yourself in order to do well in that lecture or in that situation. To support my claim, I'm going to show you one of the best UFC champions in history, Don McGregor. You will find the video in the references. He does what I just told you. He visualizes and imagines the fight before he does it, and he actually makes predictions about the fight using what he visualizes. And most of the time, his visualizations turn into real life. This is insane. I'm going to leave you with the video on YouTube showing you how he does it. And I'll be waiting for your opinion and your comments on that lecture and on that video. I'll see you next lecture to talk about the second step of mental preparation, which is humor and how to handle it and how to deal with it and how to be a little bit fun. I'm not going to reach out to be funny, just how to be fun. I'll see you next. Finally, to wrap this lecture up, we talked about 3 techniques to conquer stage fright as a way to mentally prepare for a session. The smell of success, getting away of your own way, silencing the little voice in your mind, focusing on things you have control over, and visualization. And that's it. Actually, these are like 5 things. Anyway, I'll see you next lecture.